Rights Center, particular things you saw on the street, do you recall that really personifies what you're talking about?
Yeah, the American Indian movement was not only fighting national issues, but they were fighting issues right at home. And I'm not sure they were coming from a historic trauma concept as much as we need to change things. And one of the ways they changed things was setting up schools, setting up clinics, setting up the Legal Rights Center. And the Legal Rights Center was pretty much set up simply because every Saturday night the police would bring the paddy wagons down. And they would. Just like clockwork. And the people were thrown into these paddy wagons and taken downtown, and their freedom was taken away. They're in a system that is foreign to them. They're in a room that's square when they live in a circular world. They're caged like an animal, forced to sober up and taken to court the next day. And the first thing that goes through a native's mind is that under those scary situations, tell the truth. Be honest. That's a character within the Native community that is not everyone's culture. So what the Legal Rights Center was seeing was that Natives would go to court and think, well, I must have done something because I was arrested. I must have done something, so I'm just going to plead guilty. Or just being in the room, even if they didn't do anything, they plead guilty. Because their goal is to get out of that building. Their inner core, the whole pains of losing everything, and then putting them in that building creates an environment of hostility. And all they want to do is get away from that. Get away from the hostility. So they'd plead guilty and be gone. And they weren't. And the American Indian movement seen it, and they knew it. And they knew that the system was not understanding and fair. And being fair to a Native American pretty much is a new concept. It's not a part of history. And Natives see that. The dominant society doesn't. So the American Indian started the Legal Rights Center with the whole idea of we need to protect the people in the courtroom, and we need to be able to communicate with the police department in a manner that they will listen, that they have to listen. And there was steps made. There's real steps made by the American Indian movement and the Legal Rights Center that needed to happen. I would see clients in custody that I knew were scared to death. Were scared of dying in that building. Where I don't think in the dominant society that exists. The fear, if you have no defenses because you're incarcerated, you're forced into mental health defenses. Because you can't use drugs and alcohol to cover your pain. You're forced into mental health defenses. And that was where the A.I.M had seen it was important to create the Legal Rights Center for the purpose of getting them out of that building and into home, back home. To be sure that when an American Indian got arrested by the cops, that when they walked into the courtroom, they weren't alone. That they have the community there with them. And that happened. You know, you've seen that, Larry, with your, with your stuff, and you went to court before and seen how you weren't alone. And where you're fighting, and the Dom Society is fighting for a clean earth, that was a native issue. That's a clean earth. I'm not sure if I'm repeating myself or what, but I want to make the point that oppressed people who do not look at themselves but look at the earth as the victim are people who aren't trying to use self-trauma, historic trauma, to defend themselves, because that's not important. What's important is the earth.